This was it's been a year in the making, I feel like, in terms of putting this all together, or at least thinking about this for a year, but it's come together very quickly and very efficiently. And I really want to make sure that to acknowledge the entire Penn Career Conference organizing committee. We got to work together with offices that sometimes we do partner with, and sometimes we definitely don't partner with on some of the work that we're doing. And so it's so great that we had this opportunity to be together, and everyone on the committee was fantastic at sharing a vision of putting this into place. So this was extra work on top of all the work that everyone was doing in this very sort of crazy type of semester and year, and all those things that go with that. So I do want to make sure that everyone here gets appreciated for the work that we're doing. I certainly appreciate it, and it's been amazing to partner with everyone as we're going through these different sessions. I also want to acknowledge the fact that the people who have attended this, the attendees themselves, people who have registered, come from so many different backgrounds and areas and offices, and we try to capture some of these things in our registration form, but we ask people what their office and department is, and at Penn, because it's also complicated, everyone has 15 different offices and different departments and different areas, and sometimes it's very hard to capture that information about how many offices or departments are out there. But there's a lot, and this is not everyone who attended. This is just one of our original registration forms. So across the spectrum at Penn, there are people involved in the career development of students, of postdocs, of staff, of even faculty, the community, people who haven't even, high school students who are coming into Penn, lots of people focusing on this. It's a big community, and maybe I might say it's an undervalued community slightly at Penn in terms of the way that this is talked about at the highest levels, the way it's talked about in in Penn Today, in different areas. I'd love to be able to elevate the work that we all do and the importance of that work, so that everyone can really appreciate how transformational some of the things that everyone does are to students, to the decisions that they make, to their long-term life, to everything, right? So I appreciate that everyone has come from a different place, with different populations, with different restrictions, with different challenges, but hope that everyone has taken something away from that that's going to be helpful. Here's some numbers that I've been pulling together, or sort of on the fly as we're going through. So the messages that I sent out this morning with sharing all of the sessions went to 171 staff members that are out there, maybe some faculty too. And so that's a lot of people who share something in common. I went through and looked at all the different registrations for the programs that we had over the last 3 days. 134 unique users registered for these programs, and once we're done, tallying everything, we'll have actual numbers as well. Although a lot of these page views of the conference page over the last 2 months, I guarantee are probably mine. They're probably not unique views. Lots of people have come by and looked at the sessions that we've had and the shared resources that we've had. So that's been great that people have been able to do that. I mean, there are so many resources that I think we all have that could be shared efficiently and effectively across the work that we're doing. And I'd love for us to find a way to be more efficient, more effective, more sharing in terms of how we're able to get information out that we have. And one of the reasons is that a lot of everyone puts in so much effort into creating resources that sometimes are just not used. We pay for subscriptions at career services that we encourage people to use, and then we find out that 200 people use it out of a population of thousands, and that's on us to make sure that people know that it's there and know its value. But even that I think is a great goal, and I think the panelists in the last session talked about how making sure that everyone, for example, activates their profiles on Handshake or their accounts on this or whatever's available to them, making sure that they all have one intersection with a resource that might be helpful to them. I think if we spend a lot of time just making sure that people use what we already have, we don't have to keep looking for new things. We just have to make sure that people are using the things right now. 38 presenters and panelists and resource sharers. Thank you so much for contributing to this process and spending the extra time doing this. I really appreciate the work that people did put in there. I've enjoyed every one of the panels that I've been in, and I haven't pressed too many wrong buttons as I've been listening to them in the background. So I'm happy that, although Milen did point out that I was sending my conversations to the waiting room during the last panel for a significant portion of time. So the people in the waiting room were enjoying all of my thoughtful comments. I just looked at the Meetaway sessions. 52 people bravely networked. And there were 275 introductions made over Meetaway, right? So it's a really interesting platform. It's fun to use. It's still traumatic if you don't like networking, but it's not that traumatic. It's not like walking into a room where lots of people are having conversations already, and then you want to get out there as quickly as possible. So a fantastic set of numbers there. Here are our presenters and panelists and resource sharers and moderators and everyone who's been involved in this. And so, an enormous thank you for people who are at Penn, for people who came in from the outside, from our colleagues who aren't based in the Philadelphia area, who are virtualizing into this environment, which will be the future of this as well. So everyone here had input to share and takeaways, hopefully, that you're able to glean from these conversations. So an amazing thank you for everyone who's been doing that. What about some next steps that I think might be helpful to think about? We are going to put together an evaluation form and send it out to everyone who participated. And I appreciate it if when you get that you do share your thoughts. I'd love it if you could share a thought right now, even if you wanted to, about one of a takeaway that you took from this conference, and maybe an action statement, or an action step rather, that you might want to take next. If you want to throw that in there to the chat, you can certainly do that. Keeping the conversation going, I think, is helpful. Obviously, I think at the end of this semester, everyone is tired. The academic year is tiring, but finding ways to keep the conversations going. Obviously, if you went to my LinkedIn session, connecting with people on LinkedIn is going to be one way of doing that. But I also think that people mentioned throughout this conference of highlighting people's successes and the many recommendations that you can write for your team members on LinkedIn will live with them throughout their entire professional career. And so spending a few moments doing that, I can do that better, but making sure that you're really verbalizing and illustrating the value that your team members bring is something that you can overtly do on LinkedIn so that the world can see, not just a performance evaluation, not just the supervisor, but everyone. So that's a key next step. We have, I think, pretty much recorded everything that we've done over this conference. And so, as Michael mentioned, these are going to be posted on the YouTube channel. Probably what we'll end up doing is embedding them also on the career conference page itself, so that you know where to look for those and find those. So it's going to take us a while to do some gentle editing to make sure that those are viewable. But again, you can share those with colleagues, incoming colleagues, people who weren't able to come, people who are already on holiday doing fun things. That's great. What will we do in the future? Is this something that will continue on? I think that's a question that we are happy to sort of ponder. I think the virtual environment makes this easy. I think doing this in person and the cost of tablecloths makes this financially very hard to do. If we're trying to find space and tables and chairs to fit everyone in the same room, it's a different experience. But I think it's a conversation that's worth happening. But what I did want to sort of highlight as part of this was really the save the date for a 2026 party. And you say, well, 2026, why? That's a long time away. I like to think in the future here. So what's happening in 2026? Well, this career services flag that we drag in and out, and now that I look at it, really should be on wheels of our office and stick outside to let people know that we're open. It says career services established in 1926. And so if I've done my calculations correctly, that should mean that coming up in 2026 is our 100th year anniversary. And really, 100-year anniversaries only come around every 100 years or so. So making sure that we do find a way to celebrate this, I think, is great, because otherwise it would be very regretful. So I think obviously there's an opportunity here to do lots of things. I think looking back through the archives to see how things have changed and how that informs what we're doing next. We have a couple of people with history backgrounds in our staff who might have sort of views about what that could look like. We have the whole library, colleagues who might be able to help us navigate through that. I think celebrating the successes of the famous Penn alumni and the not famous Penn alumni, right? Making sure that we can show the the stories and tell the stories of people who've navigated through Penn in different directions and leverage that. I mean, there's lots of ways I think that we can think about all of these different aspects. So 2026, it gives us plenty of time to plan a party, I think, with hopefully more cake. The 100th birthday party hopefully is not, just like the conference where, we're sitting in a Zoom session. I mean, we can make it more party-esque, put a hat on maybe and drink cake, eat cake, drink wine, drink cake if you want to. Hopefully we are in person at that point in time and can make more of that experience 5 years from now, let's hope so. But anyone who has ideas about how we can celebrate with cake and hats, we're all open to those ideas. So that's fantastic. And then I want to make sure that we do take time to make sure that everyone has taken on a lot of information. The university life colleagues that I work with, we came out of a 4-day retreat that covered a lot of really important topics, but that were hard topics and emotionally hard and everything. And at the end of this academic year, it's really important, I think, that we focus on personal wellness and self-care, and take the time to reflect. And sometimes time to reflect means that you go somewhere else and you do something else and you stop thinking about what's right in front of you on that task list and whatever that is. And I know it's easy to say, but making sure that there's enough time to sort of appreciate all the work that you've done over this last year, I think is so critically important. Now, for some of you, this Sleeping Kitten is definitely a party, and I'm all about Sleeping Kitten parties. For others of you, that's like, that's not a party, we need more than that. So for those people, I offer this amendment to the Sleeping Kitten, since the party hats are part of what we're doing. So if you want more of a party, this is more of a party from my perspective. So with that, I just want to make sure that we end on a high note. If I'm seeing things in the chat, people sharing stuff, which is fantastic, mostly about cake, which is also fantastic. I'm going to let Barb jump in if you want to say anything else, Barb, but I'm happy for anyone to ask questions or do anything. I'm going to stop sharing the Sleeping Kitten who's breathing slowly, which is better than the chicken image I found, which is creepier.
Oh my God, I want to adopt that cat. It's so cute. Anyway, Joseph summed up everything really well. I want to take a special thank you to everyone who organized this committee and did all the work for the program, and especially you, Joseph. I know I started with that, but let me end with that. You have been handling so many details and you've done it flawlessly, so thank you. I also want to thank all of our speakers. They've been enlightening, and it's really exciting to see the enthusiasm around that. But most of all, I want to thank everybody who attended. Everybody is busy, as Joseph said. University Life Division has had a whole nother retreat going on this last week and a half. And that you took the time to show up and attend some of our sessions is really great. We had no idea who was going to come. I was looking at your slide, Joseph, and the fact that someone from the Fisher Fine Arts Library came, that's amazing. I don't know anyone over there. I would never have thought that someone from the Fisher Fine Arts Library would attend. So it just gives me so much joy to see how much interest there is around campus for this career everywhere concept that David from UConnect talked about. And I just wanted to really express my heartfelt appreciation for all of you that took the time out of your busy days to attend. So with that, I will sign off. I can't wait to see everybody back on campus. And I feel like personally, I've made a lot of new connections through MeetAway and just through chats and things like that, that I'm really excited to connect in person when we get back. So thank you all.